Hello everybody, Nick Swift here. There are plenty of shows that are so good, we would say they're perfect. Well, I hate to break it to you, but no cartoon is perfect. A bad episode of an otherwise great cartoon would ruin the quality of said cartoon, especially if that episode served as a premiere, finale, or resulted in that show's downfall. Or maybe these episodes fit none of that criteria and were just out of place. Well, today's video is dedicated to those episodes. So without further ado, here are my top 6 worst episodes of good cartoons. To Taste or Not to Taste from Corn and Peg. Now to start off, I consider Corn and Peg one of my favorite cartoons. It's a wholesome show about two fools who just want to make their community a better place. In this episode, however, they make their community a living hell. In this episode, Corn and Peg try to convince their classmates to try pizza. And by convincing, I mean they're forcing their classmates to try it. It was very uncomfortable watching Corn and Peg so out of character, which is a theme you'll see quite a lot on this list. Woozy Walden from Wow Wow Wubsy. This episode was essentially a Walden torture episode the whole way through. Walden is sick in this episode, and it's up to Wubsy and Daisy to take care of him. Too bad they do a horrible job at it. All Walden needed was sleep, but Wubsy and Daisy are completely oblivious to his requests, and they just make his life a living hell. I would put this episode at the start of a list, since it isn't as bad as To Taste or Not to Taste from Corn and Peg. If not for the fact, this was the series finale of Wubsy. I get that the series was cancelled because of insufficient merchandise sales, but this is just a terrible way to close the series. But Wub Girls episodes were a better ending than this. Anyways, Wow Wow Wubsy is still a great cartoon despite this train wreck of an ending. DW's Very Bad Mood from Arthur. Now we're getting to the episodes I really despise. This episode is nothing more than DW throwing tantrums and making her family's lives hell, all because she wasn't invited to a birthday party. For someone who she doesn't even like. That's not even the worst part. Throughout the episode, DW gets no repercussions for her behavior whatsoever. So this essentially tells kids that if you throw enough tantrums, you'll get what you want. I'm sorry, but I thought I was watching Arthur, not Caillou! So funny, I forgot to laugh, also from Arthur. For a series that ran as long as Arthur, it's bound to have spawned several bad episodes. In this episode, Sue Ellen wears this huge sweater and gets picked on for it the entire episode, being called a sheepdog. Now, the reason why I put this episode on the list is because Arthur was totally out of character in this episode. If I told you that there was an episode where Arthur was a bully, you would look at me as if I were deranged. I would understand if someone like Binky or Muffy was picking on Sue Ellen, but for kind-hearted Arthur? Say what you will about DW's Very Bad Mood, but at least everyone was in character. This episode completely ruins Arthur's character so that it can give us a shitty episode. It's Time from Regular Show. This was the episode that really made me hate Mordecai. This episode was pretty much Rigby making him jealous over going on a date with Margaret. Mordecai, being the total simp that he is, gets furious at Rigby and even kills him later in the episode. Unfortunately, this was only the first of many episodes where Mordecai was a total simp. It's a Wishful Life from The Fairly Odd Parents. This episode was not only bad, it was mean-spirited. The episode starts off with Timmy doing good deeds for those around him, but they're all ungrateful. This causes Timmy to feel underappreciated and wish he was never born. The rest of the episode was Timmy seeing how everyone is better off without him. His parents are rich, AJ has a full head of hair, Crocker is a professor at Harvard, and even Chester is better off. That's horrible! And to top it all off, Jorgen is essentially telling Timmy to off himself by jumping into a dimension of kids who improved the world by wishing they were never born. Why does something like that exist? And why does it look like hell? Not only is this episode abysmal, but its moral is dangerous in that it tells its audience that you don't matter and that everybody around you is better off without you. The fact that a writer for the show came up with this premise and that it was approved to air is absolutely deplorable. Think of all the people who are emotionally traumatized by this episode's message. That's why it's the #1 worst episode of a good cartoon. Now, the reason as to why I love these shows is that despite how bad some episodes can get, these shows can quickly get back up and produce better episodes. With that said, this is Nickswolf signing off. Ow!